this time, we come to our featured speaker. And to help introduce our speaker, I want to introduce the Chamber's Chief Executive Officer, Matt Crossan. And the staff told me today we're supposed to identify him as Matt with an exclamation point. So, Matt, come on up and introduce our speaker today. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. With an exclamation point. Well, we'll have some fun this afternoon. I informed our guest speaker that his career in journalism would come to a screeching halt today, but that he'll find other work somewhere, someplace in the future. We're not really turning the tables on Norm. We're going to learn a lot about what he does, how he does it, and the importance it has for Las Vegas, and have some fun along the way. Norm has been covering the celebrity scene for the RJ since September 1999. He's broken a wide variety of celebrity-related stories over the years, some of which include Britney Spears' 55-hour first marriage, Michael Jackson's returning to the United States on Christmas Eve, and Celine Dion's move to Caesar's Palace. Now, Norm grew up in Terry, Montana, and got his first break in journalism covering sports for the Terry Tribune, later working his way up to becoming sports editor of the Billings Gazette. In 1973, Norm went to work for the Associated Press, covering the Cincinnati Reds during the Big Red Machine era. He also covered massive disasters during that period of time: the Beverly Hills Supper Club fire at Southgate, Kentucky, and the 1978 collapse of a nuclear power plant cooling tower in West Virginia. And later, after transferring to San Diego, Norm covered the MGM fire in Las Vegas for the AP. After covering the Los Angeles Olympics for AP, Norm moved to Denver to head up the Rocky Mountain News' coverage of baseball's expansion to that city. It was in Denver in 1996 that Norm began writing a Man About Town column that would become the prototype for his column in Las Vegas. Norm is the author of 2 books about Las Vegas with the following understated titles: 1,000 Naked Truths and Sensational Celebrity Tales. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Norm Clark. Norm, welcome. As you can see, folks, we are going to have a conversation this afternoon in which we'll cover a variety of subjects, many of which, by the way, have been suggested by members of the Chamber. Sent an email out a couple of days ago and got a lot of responses to that. When I asked Norm a question that was prompted by a member of the Chamber, I'll point that out so that the member of the Chamber involved, without naming that member, takes the blame if you don't like the question. I'm tempted, Norm, to start with a kind of a question that has been on my mind personally, and I think probably on the minds of many people in this room and beyond these walls related to celebrity coverage, and that is, when, please God, will we stop hearing about Lindsay Lohan?
Well, I think the quick answer is probably when she cleans up her act, and she's not real good at that. So she's out of jail now. They said that she, that she's on her way to recovery, whatever that means. So,
well, maybe we'll be on our way to recovery too if the coverage of her.
She's somebody, Matt, that I thought I was going to see. She turned 21 about 3 or 4 years ago. I thought I was going to see a lot of her, and that's been one of the big surprises of my last couple of years, is that she really, I guess she prefers the party close to home, so let's give her that.
And keep her there. 13 years ago, actually 13 years ago next week, Princess Diana died in that horrible automobile accident in Paris, and at that time there was a lot of criticism about paparazzi and celebrity coverage and whether it contributed to the circumstances surrounding her death. And you thought at that time that perhaps the kind of celebrity coverage that was going on then might diminish a little bit, and in fact, it's taken off. If anything, there's more celebrity coverage today and more interest in celebrities than there was at that time. Why do you think that is?
Well, for one thing, you've got the proliferation of the 24/7, all the cable stations. They need content. That's a huge starting point for it. The other thing is the celebrities used to be, I mean, there was, they were not appearing in as many venues. They weren't coming to Las Vegas to pick up $100,000 to host a nightclub. Now the D and C listers are starting with $10,000, $15,000 fees to do that, and it's out there. They're making themselves more accessible. Everybody in Vegas has a red carpet when they have a celebrity come to town, and most of them want their name. They say this as a springboard to get their name out there, get free publicity.
What makes a person a celebrity these days? How do you become
a reality show, I'm afraid. Well, the ability to create buzz, I would guess, would be a starting point on that. You're seeing that's the sad side of it to me, is that I see the Housewives of New Jersey and the North Jersey Shore cast and all, and it's all about the outrageous. It's all about, I want to be famous. I want to be famous so bad that I mean, one of the stories I've heard is that some local ladies want to jumpstart the Las Vegas Housewives of Las Vegas, so they've hired a camera crew to follow them around to do a pilot to get it to Bravo to try to get that going. Now, to me, you're courting fame, but you're once you go on those shows, you're in a different world.
Fame can cut both ways.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It's going to come back and bite you. And some people want fame that bad. I don't really care.
Now, I know a lot of people are curious about how you collect your information. I mean, how you get information about sightings and things that are going on, particularly sightings, because you have to cover a wide area in a relatively short space of time, and you do 6 columns a week, which is an awful lot by any standard. Tell us how you go about getting your information. How do you get tips on sightings and things of that kind?
That's the number one question I get, Matt, is how do you get it? How do you know it's good? How do you vet it? When I got here, Las Vegas was really still operating under the what happens here stays here. And then the Palms opened, and the Palms courted celebrity. They had a business plan that was very celebrity-centric. And I got a lot of Palm stuff, still get a lot of Palm stuff, because that's what they do. And they do it better than anybody else in town. They get the word out. But it started changing. There was a real shift in the sentiment. I asked a top PR director, when did the MGM Mirage decide to come on board? And he said, it wasn't so much the Palms opening that made us change our minds about getting you information. It was that our VIPs that we were flying into functions were showing up at 9 Steakhouse and at the Playboy Club and other venues. And I think they went from I was told that a top executive once said, no good can come from having our VIPs in Norm's column, to what's the harm if we're building a $10 million, $15 million restaurant and nightclub? what's the harm in letting people know who's coming to our places? And that's really when it all very much shifted. Now, as far as the how do I vet it? A lot of these nightclubs and restaurants realized that there was gold in getting the word out, and they have. I think I've created a cottage industry of PR people just to cover the nightlife scene, because there's a lot of competition in getting sightings to me. I can't use them all, and so many of them know that the best information that I get at the, they're not going to give me the real dirt on what somebody might have done, but the information I get comes in large part from PR companies that are covering their client, saying so-and-so was in last night and he was with so-and-so. We had John Travolta in over the weekend. The unusual details were that all members of his party were wearing tuxedos. We know that yesterday that it was announced that he and his wife were expecting a baby. We thought that it might have had something to do with that, but it turns out that it was a party for a childhood friend, and they wore vintage Vegas tuxedos, and that's the stuff that comes in. People know what I'm looking for, and it's rare that I have a missighting.
Now, I know a lot of people in the business, on the Strip in particular, believe very strongly that the coverage that you provide of the celebrities in town is really instrumental in helping business grow here, the hospitality business. In other words, it helps bring people to Las Vegas. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'll start by saying that Las Vegas was really built on celebrity buzz. When the Flamingo opened in 1947, the mob decided we've got to get some celebrities in. So they brought in a dozen celebrities from Hollywood and drew a huge crowd that night. And a couple of years ago, I was covering a Hall of Fame for a lady that was in her 70s or something. I asked her when's the first time she came to Las Vegas. She said, I was among the first celebrities that they invited to the Flamingo opening. And I said, I've heard that it was, a huge turnout. And she goes, yeah. And then there was 9 people in the showroom the next night. So they had to. That's how it works. Buzz is the most important thing, I think, in this town. It starts with people that get in a cab, and they ask the cabbie, where's the best place to eat? Where do we see celebrities? People come to Las Vegas, and when they go home, they're gonna be asked usually 2 questions: did you win, and did you see any celebrities? Some of them might be asked, I hope you didn't wear your stilettos all the way down the street, because you're not gonna walk for a month. But
now, this is a question from a member. You're out and about on the Strip frequently. What differences do you see between the way things are today on the Strip and the way they were, say, 2006, say 4 years ago, if any?
Well, it's a different crowd. Really, in the last 3 years, it's a different crowd. You're seeing a lot of people that are taking advantage of room rates that are at historic low levels, and I guess what I'm saying is that you're seeing a lot more people in flip-flops and in golf clothes showing up in the casinos. So many people ask me, the old Vegas crowd so often asked me, can you please do something about having some of the old Vegas glitz return, back when people would dress up to go out to a show, and that even included putting on cowboy hats and tuxedos. And now it totally is different. I remember George Carlin going off on the crowd that he was you know, people that were paying big money to watch him, and he was talking about how much he hates Las Vegas. First, you know, they come pouring into the place, and they talk all the way through the show and all that, and he dissed them a lot. It is definitely a different crowd.
All right, now I'm going to start what I'll call kind of a lightning round.
Sure.
Series of questions, quick answers, snap answers. And I reserve the right to ask follow-up questions if I sense that there's like something really.
My job goes where I end up.
Not yet. No, that's later. We'll keep the suspense open for that part. No, this is a lightning round, and I may answer. You know, if I think there's something juicy there, I may ask a follow-up question. A number of these were suggested by members. Question number one: who is the most difficult celebrity you've ever dealt with?
That's pretty easy. 3 years ago, I was doing a story on Tony Bassel's 25th anniversary of the song "Hey Mickey." She's a local gal and all. I'm probably going to offend somebody here or not, but I thought it'd be a good little follow-up story to do the 25th anniversary. I called. I wanted 5 minutes. 2 minutes into the conversation, she had said 4 times, "This is all on my website. I'm surprised you didn't get it off my website." And I said, "No, I looked, and this is what I'm asking you isn't about it." So we ended the conversation, and it will be the last conversation we'll ever have. That was
Now, who's the nicest and most responsible celebrity you've ever dealt with?
most responsible.
Nicest and most responsible, or split the difference.
I can tell you that the best gentleman that I ever encountered was the first week I was here covering a Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand, and Pierce Brosnan walked it was on his way out and had all sorts of security around him, and I asked if I could get a couple quotes from him. I did, finished it. I said, "Thank you very much, Pierce." And he said, he started to turn away, and he turned back and he said, "I'm sorry, I didn't get your name." And I said, "Norm Clark, the Review Journal." He said, "Very nice to meet you, Norm." And that is the last time, basically, that's happened with a celebrity in Las Vegas. That just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, it's a different world.
What's the wildest incident? Or the biggest celebrity meltdown you've ever encountered?
Well, the wildest, two of the wildest incidents, and I'll make them really short. 5 years ago, I'm sitting at the Palms with, of all people, Matt Drudge, who does the internet, the website. First time we had gone out with Matt, and Pete Rose walks by, and Pete Rose, I had just had lunch with Pete the week before. I'd covered him during my Cincinnati Reds coverage years, and all of a sudden, Matt says, "Hey, that was Pete Rose." And I hollered out a couple times, and he didn't respond, and I felt that probably, it was either noisy or he was tired of people hollering at him. And general manager sees that I'm shouting at him, tells Pete. Pete comes back. I stand up to introduce him to Matt Drudge, and Pete bitch slaps me and tells me, "You blankety blank, you made me number 5 worst tipper in your book." So I go, "Oh, all right." Goes with the territory. Well, 10 seconds later, George Maloof walks over the table. I think he just saw this. He's got a guy with him that I think, that's Tom Brady of the New England Patriots. So he came over. I introduced them to Matt Drudge, and I said, "George, did you see what just happened?" And George said, "No, what's that?" I said, "Pete Rose just walked up and bitch slapped me." And Tom Brady put his hands down on the table and said, "Pete Rose just bitch slapped you?" And a year later, he was with his girlfriend at the time at Tao, looked across the room, recognized me, and came over and introduced me to his girlfriend. So one other uncomfortable moment, Criss Angel wasn't happy with some of the things I had written about him, what he said to a judge saying that his girlfriend was in the Miss USA contest 2 years ago, and I heard some really colorful language. I'll leave it there.
You know, actually, I'm curious now that you mentioned Pete Rose, because you did cover the Cincinnati Reds during the big red machine era, the Rose era. Despite the incident that you just mentioned, do you think Rose should be in the Hall of Fame?
I think Pete belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I think he will go in posthumously. Would I vote for him? I would not vote for him now, right now. Not and put that. Well, I'd put him in the bitch slapping Hall of Fame. But I wouldn't now because I've read all the information that they had on him, and my biggest sentiment is that with Pete, it was, if baseball's taken me down, I'm taking baseball down with me, and I thought that was unforgivable. Maybe another generation of baseball writers will be a little bit more forgiving. But that to me was a major sin. I don't think that he will probably get in for a number of years.
Now you mentioned tippers, and we have a number of members who are interested in tipping. Who's the biggest tipper, and who's the worst tipper?
Well, the biggest tipper, and still to this day, is the late New Zealand media mogul, Kerry Packer. Bobby Baldwin told me when Kerry died about 5 years ago that take all the rest of the whales and forget about them, because Kerry Packer was the biggest of the biggest. He was a huge tipper. He played multiple hands at $200,000, and often threw in $200,000 into the dealer's pool, and but the all-timer is he was being waited on by a cocktail waitress, and he said, "Do you have? Are you married?" And she said, "No, I'm a single mom." And he said, "Do you have a house?" And she goes, "Oh no, I rent." And he goes, "Well, go buy a house," and he gave her 150 grand in chips. That was the all-timer, and that's been confirmed to me by Bobby Baldwin. Worst tippers, gosh, I could go on. Michael Jordan's known as Michael Horden Jordan. Quick story, he was playing, he had a bad cold, bad cough. He asked the cocktail server if she would get him some cough medicine. She disappeared, came back 20 minutes later, and he gave her $1. And Wayne Gretzky was at the table and said, "Hey, come on, Michael, you got to give her a little something." And well, that's when he gave her $1, and Gretzky flipped a $25 tip on her table. I always thought I've thought a lot of him ever since then. Interestingly enough, the two names that have been in the news quite lately. Tiger Woods and his then-girlfriend, Elin Nordegren, were at the mansion about 6-7 years ago, and he was playing, you got to play big boy poker if you're in there. Cocktail server came by, and they ordered, and when she came back, he gave her a $5 tip. I'm told that Elin leaned over and said, "You tipped her a while ago." And he reached up and pulled the $5 back. But the chutzpah of all chutzpah was J-Lo was playing with Ben Affleck at the time, her boyfriend at the time. This is 6-7 years ago as well, and I think this happened at the Mirage. And he plays big, and he won a big pot, and he flipped a $5,000 white chip, I believe, to the dealers. Before the dealers could pull it in, J-Lo pulled it back and left 3 black chips, which are $100 chips. So that did not go over big with the dealers. In fact, I'm told, I didn't know this, but I'm told it's against the law to tip somebody and pull. I'm seeing heads nodding out there, so glad I have the good right information.
I hope we don't have pull backers in the room. Okay, more questions from the members. Will Madonna do an extended engagement in Vegas?
I think so, but not for anything close to what, that outrageous report out of the UK was 5 years, 1 billion. Obviously, they didn't sit down and do the math. She will probably do something very similar to what Celine is getting, 3 years, 150 million. And to be honest, I really hope it happens, because Las Vegas really needs some new blood, somebody to really start bringing people back. And I think that she's got what, you know, there aren't many people out there like Celine who has that countercultural appeal, where people from so many countries come to see her. Madonna is in that same mold, where she could pull in a lot of people, and we need that.
Well, interesting. One of the other questions that I got related to Celine Dion coming back. Obviously, Celine Dion, a great star, but the question was, will her return be big in the sense of pulling people back to Las Vegas, or would a younger star, separate and apart from Madonna, a younger star, draw better?
I think that I interviewed a lady that came to 67 Celine shows. And the people that go to see Celine are multiple returners, if that's the word. I had lunch one day with the guy that brought her in, and he said, in his years in the casino business, nobody drew like Celine. And clearly, she could have, I think she was here 5 to 6 years. She could have continued. She's going to have a baby a couple months, 2 or 3 months before she comes back, coming back in March. And I think Celine and Madonna would be a tremendous 1-2 punch, and especially if it was both at the Coliseum, and I don't doubt that. But I'm looking across the landscape, trying to figure out who the young stars are, and Garth Brooks is a great addition at Wynn. But I don't think Beyonce is the next young star to light up Las Vegas. I think that somebody that's become so huge so fast is Lady Gaga. And part of it is all this outrageous costuming and that sort of thing. I would not be surprised if she does some sort of a limited engagement to dip her toes in the water. I think that could happen.
She was here just recently, right?
Yes, she was, yeah.
Will Vegas get an NBA franchise?
I think Vegas will get an NBA franchise and a hockey franchise. Those will be the first two things that'll happen. Baseball would love to come in here, but they need an indoor stadium that's going to cost in the billions, and that's going to be difficult. A very difficult sell in this day and age.
Which hotel, again continuing with the lightning round, which hotel will land the Michael Jackson show?
Good question. You know, you have to you have to think that MGM Mirage would have the inside track on it, but where to put them? So they're not going to go in Excalibur, probably not going to go in Monte Carlo or Circus. So does that mean a one maybe underachieving Cirque show would be leaving, and that could be. I think that the MGM would really love to have the biggest show in town, because it's the brand, it's the name, and so I don't know if Ka is underperforming. I hate to start rumors. Trust me, I hate to start rumors, but I think that
it's evident in your work.
Yeah, that's right. Professional rumors are something else. But I mean, you go down the list. Mandalay Bay's got Lion King. You've got Ka at MGM. You've got the Elvis show. I don't think it's going anywhere. The really interesting question about the Michael Jackson show is I think there's been disappointment and we know that the tweaking process is continuing with the Elvis show, but they've got to, the Michael Jackson show has got to be performing at a higher level than the Elvis show. And I was one of those people that thought Elvis couldn't miss. I also said Criss Angel and Magic Show couldn't miss. So.
Another question from a member. What are you hearing about the plans for the Fountainbleau?
For the plans?
Plans for the Fountainbleau.
I reported about 2 months ago that I heard that there has been talk that, and I think part of it was fed by the interest in, or the possibility of that arena going in next to the Fountainbleau. That would make a tremendous amount of sense, that the Fountainbleau would then get on a fast track and get it finished. For those of you that aren't aware, Fountainbleau is a $1 billion project that they went bust on it, and Carl Icahn, the corporate raider, picked it up for about $250–60 million, and it's going to let it sit until the money loosens up, and it will be a money, another great.
Now you have two dogs, Rumor and Scandal are their names.
Yes.
I just wanted to point that out. But which of the two dogs is the most help in covering Las Vegas? Rumor or Scandal?
Is most helpful?
The most helpful in covering Las Vegas. Is it Rumor or is it Scandal?
I think Scandal is probably Scandal more personifies what Las Vegas is all about. That's the juiciest part. I've had people say that we should get a third dog and I should name it Retraction. I don't know what they mean by that. Kind of hard to go, hey, ready, or retract. I mean,
another question from a member. What's the biggest change you've experienced in the club and stage environment in the last several years?
In the club and stage environment? I'm not sure if I've seen a change, but I'll tell you the change I would like to see is that I've never understood why people come in and pay $100 for a great show and then stay seated on their hands. I've never understood. Do they not understand that standing up and applauding is the easiest thing you can do? If I could change two things in this town right now, that would be one of them. The other would be I'd get rid of bottle service. I think it's the scourge of Las Vegas. I think it's giving Las Vegas this gouging sort of image. I know they make scads of money on it and all, but to me, I get more complaints from people that come in and say, we had to pay X number of dollars for a table and $300, $400 for bottles of alcohol that we couldn't possibly finish, but because you paid for it, you're drinking more of it than you want to. So,
you started to talk a little bit earlier about sort of the next big thing in the context of next big performer like Madonna. Among celebrities, beyond a specific celebrity coming to do a show in Vegas, among celebrities, do you see trends? What do you think is the next big movement among celebrities and that could positively affect business here in Las Vegas?
I'm going to need to think about that a minute. I think that I'm going to answer this part of it first. This doesn't have so much to do with celebrity as to make this city come back. I think that any CEO in town would say we've got to get the conventions back, and there's a rumor out there that Las Vegas is very aggressively going after Comic-Con, the giant comic magazine convention in San Diego. Apparently it's outgrown San Diego, and the comeback to me starts with really bringing back the convention business. As far as the celebrities, I think a big piece to that is, and I've heard this from George Maloof, that to get Vegas nightclubs rocking again like they were, they've got to bring in the young Hollywood crowd. They're not coming as much as they used to, I think, and that's why you're seeing a lot of the Britney Spears and Paris Hilton used to get 100,000 a pop to come in for a weekend and host at these things, and now the price has really gone down. They're not paying that kind of money, so they're getting a lower level. But I think that
they're getting a lower level than Paris Hilton and Britney Spears.
Yeah. I'm not talking about personalities now. I know what you're saying. You can't get any lower.
Do you think that looking at the Strip and the sort of the whole product of Las Vegas to people around the country, that we are where we should be? I mean, there's been an evolution over time. And the addition of more entertainment, more great restaurants and things of that kind. Do you see that we would benefit from a further evolution? Is there something else out there, or is it just getting more people to come back here when the economic tide begins to rise around the country?
Well, I don't think anybody would disagree with this statement that we thought the boom was going to last forever and that we overbuilt. I think that's probably the biggest sword hanging over our heads. We can get people to come in. I think people will start returning sooner than housing prices will start going up. I think.
But are we giving folks, what we should be giving them, or do you think we should change the mix a little bit?
I think that's probably a question, Matt, that the people in the boardroom are saying. Should the food prices come down? I think the tickets should be coming down. I don't think. I mean, you've got people coming in. You've got a tremendous. I've tried to get across the Strip on a Friday and Saturday night, and the pedestrians, it's just never ending. So there's a lot of people coming in, but they're not spending very much money. They're coming in for the room bargains and that sort of thing, but they're just not spending that much right now.
But the mix of good food and gaming and entertainment, do you think was where we should be right now?
I'm going to leave that up to the people that know more about that formula than I do. I know that it certainly fueled the run up. When I got here in '99, Vegas was just it was skyrocketing, and then we hit the top of the wave, and now I think that we've got some brilliant minds running these major corporations, and I think that they're probably figuring. I mean, when I was here, I think there were three shows that were over $100, and now I think there's got to be 20 some shows at $100. And I think that if you ask people that are coming into town, what's your biggest beef with Las Vegas? I think the first thing out of their mouths, for the most part, would be $100 tickets. We can't afford $100 tickets. And they're not $100 tickets, they're $150 tickets. So I wouldn't be surprised here's what I think is going to happen. And I think it's already happened. It's no genius on my part. I think the key is packaging. I think you're going to see more. And I think I've seen Wynn doing this, and I've seen others. We'll get you dinner for two. We'll throw in great room rate and Garth Brooks for X number of dollars. I think that's happening.
You optimistic about the future of Las Vegas?
Absolutely am. I think it's a great city. I think it's a city that offers what very few cities do. I think we got some incredible inventive minds here. It's a city of reinvention, and I think that when this little downtime is over, there are going to be some people that have separated themselves and shown that they are the people that are worthy of having statues built after them, because it's going to take some serious math, not Madoff math. It's going to take some serious-minded people to help turn this around, and I hope to be alive to see that. It's going to be a new Vegas, and I think it's going to be a more responsible Vegas in some ways.
Well, I wish we had all afternoon to keep talking, but we've run out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, Norm Clark.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. That was fun. Appreciate it. Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Again, I want to express the Chamber's appreciation to Norm Clark for coming out today. It's been great to hear the information. I also want to give a nod to his straight man, Matt Cross. And Matt, you do that pretty well. Before we finish, again, we want to give a round of applause and thank our great sponsors, Super Pond and Sequoia. So please join us in... We also want to thank Global Experience Specialists for sponsoring our Patron and Circle of Excellence Awards. So please join me in thanking them as well. And like with all the members who contribute to these meetings, we want to encourage our membership to use the services of all these great members. And there's a couple more we want to acknowledge right now, and that is we want to thank Richard DePasso and Aardvark Video for taping today's luncheon. Hey guys. We'd like to thank Las Vegas Photo and Video for today's photography. And as always, we want to thank the great staff here at the Four Seasons for putting on a great lunch, great service, great food. So thank you. We look forward to hopefully seeing each and every one of you next month at the Small Business Excellence Awards on September 16. Again, thank you for joining us today, and have a great day.